Today we continue to listen Upekkhā Bhāvanā. When we develop Upekkhā, we have to develop Sabbe Satta Kammasaka. We have karma as our own. We need to understand the law of karma. This understanding of law of karma taught us self-reliance and self-responsibility, because we enjoy or we suffer as a result of what karma we did in the past. So whatever we enjoy in this life is actually the result of good karma we did in the past. And whatever we suffer here is also the result of bad karma we did in the past. So we are not to blame anybody else for our suffering. Or for our failure in this life. If we want to blame at all, we can blame our own karma. So karma is one that produces results. And since it is we who do the karma, we are the ones who cause the results to be produced. So we are the master of our own future. We can shape our future lives. In this respect, we are free and we do not have to rely on any other person for our good future, because we alone can create our future, either good or bad. So when we understand that we alone are responsible for our own suffering or for our own happiness, we know we can shape our future so that we get happiness only and not suffering. If we do not want bad results, if we do not want painful results, we just need to avoid which will give painful results. That means the knowledge of the law of karma will teach us to abstain from doing what is bad, what is painful to oneself, and what is harmful to others. So we can improve our lives here, and also we can shape our lives in the future, because we know the law of karma, we understand the law of karma. So we need to develop that kinds of knowledge, karma sakata, samadhi. Now karma gives results. Whenever there is karma, there will be results. We cannot get away from the consequences of the karmas we did in the past unless we become arahants. So when a person is reborn in another life, that rebirth is a result of karma he did in the past. In the immediate past life or in the lives before the past. So when a person is said to be reborn, he is reborn as a result of the karma he did in the past. According to the teaching of Theravada Buddhism, rebirth immediately follows death. There's no time gap between death in one life and rebirth in the next life. A person may be reborn in a place thousands of miles away, and there are some people, some story of the people who had died in one country and were reborn in another country. Although the distance may be great, thousands and thousands of miles, there's no time interval between death in one life and rebirth in the next life. So according to Abhidhamma, rebirth immediately follows death. But we must understand that rebirth in the next life is not the result of the death in the previous life. Rebirth in the next life is a result of karma in the past. Quite often people misunderstand this fact. Some people think that rebirth is produced by death. We can say that rebirth is conditioned by death also when we mean that death consciousness disappears so that rebirth consciousness can arise. It is called proximity condition in Patthana Anantara Picchaya. Death is just one moment in life, the last moment. Before that last moment, the dying man's mind is occupied with some kinds of objects presented to his mind by karma. And the quality of these objects play an important, or rather decisive, upanisaya role in conditioning the rebirth. So karma in the past life, immediate past life, or the lives before the past, condition rebirth or produce rebirth in the next immediate life. Actually, disappearing of one moment and arising of another moment go on even when we are living. According to the teachings of the Buddha, we are being reborn and dying at every moment of our lives. When I say words, you hear the words, and the words disappear very quickly, and you are listening to the words also comes and goes very quickly. So at every moment, there is a new pair of mind and metta arising and then disappearing immediately. In the next moment, there is new pair of mind and metta arising and then disappearing. It goes on and on like that, even when we are living. So if we can understand that, even in our lives, one moment of mind and metta follows another moment of mind and metta without any time gap between the two, we can understand this life and the next life. Actually, this life and the next life are different only one moment. At the moment of death, we call this life. At the next moment, which comes immediately, we call it the new life or next life. This is because we use the terms conventionally. So actually, the death in one life and rebirth in another are just the same as one moment following another moment during lifetime. Let's say now 1 second after 12 midnight of the last day of December, that is 21st of December, we call it a new day, a new month, a new year. But in fact, there is just 1 second difference between the old year and the new year. And actually, we cannot say that the previous moment is the old year and the next moment is the new year. But we agreed to call it the old year and the next one, the new year. Then we say we are in the new year, but actually we are only 1 second away from midnight. In the same way, when beings are reborn after death in one life, they are just one moment after death. So the arising and disappearing of mind and metta go on and on until we become an arahant. And we die. Until that moment, this arising and disappearing of mind and metta, we go on and on continuously. And here also the rebirth is produced by karma. So we can do something about karma in this life so that we are reborn in a better existence. Now, when we talk about rebirth, people want to know what is that is reborn there. What is that is reborn there? We answer this with the maxim, neither he nor another. The person who is said to be reborn in the next life is neither the same person that died in the previous life, nor is he a totally new person, totally independent of the being who died in the previous life. So this is a maxim we use, neither he nor another. At the moment of rebirth, what happens is karma produces a state of mind and some material properties, and that we call rebirth. So mind and matter that are produced or that arise at the moment of rebirth are not something that is carried over from the previous life. According to the teaching of the Buddha, nothing moves from this life to the next life, but as a result of something that beings did in the previous life. They are produced the results in the future. So they are connected as, or they are related as cause and effect. Connected as cause and effect. We may think a rosary, or we may think of a necklace. There are beads on them, and these beads are different from one another, and they are distinct too. But there is strings going through those beads, and so we think that it is a series of beads. But actually, only the individual beads are real. In the same way, mind or matter at every moment is new, arising at every moment. Mind and matter at every moment is new. But there is something like a strings going through the succession of arising of mind and matter. That is relationship as cause and effect. So when an effect is produced by a certain cause, then it must have some features of the cause in it. In that way, there are no chaotic arising and disappearing, or there is no such thing as my karma will give result to you, or your karma will give result to me. There's no such things. in this way. Because there is this line of relationship of cause and effect going through, arising and disappearing of mind and matter at every moment. Now, when mind and matter produced or mind and matter arise at the moment of rebirth, Buddha called rebirth suffering. This is a word that most people don't like, but the suffering according to the teaching of the Buddha, Jati Vidokha, birth is suffering, rebirth is suffering, to be born as a human being, to be born as a celestial being, to be born as an animal is also suffering. Let us see the Pali was dukkha, suffering. Sometimes the translations are not adequate. They do not cover or they cannot cover the range of meanings that was covered by the original words. Now, whenever we hear the words dukkha in Pali or suffering, our minds go to just pain. When we say there is suffering, we think that only pain is suffering. There's pain, physical pain or mental pain, that is suffering, that is very easy to see. But what the Buddha meant by suffering is much deeper than that. So according to the Buddha's teaching, everything in this world is suffering. Even when people are enjoying themselves, enjoying good relationship, enjoying sensual pleasures, these pleasures are themselves termed suffering by the Buddha. Viprinama dukkha. Why? We must understand that the criterion taught by the Buddha for something being suffering or dukkha now Buddha said, whatever is impermanent is suffering. We must follow that. Whatever is impermanent is suffering. Can we find anything that is permanent in this world? Can we find anything that just arises and does not disappear? There's nothing that lasts forever. Everything must come to an end simply because it has a beginning So whenever there is a beginning, there is an end. There is a law of nature. We cannot escape that. We are born as human beings. We started as human beings. We will not live forever. One day we will die because that is the end of our lives. So whenever there is a beginning, there is an end. And something that has a beginning and an end cannot be said to be permanent. It is impermanent in nature. Buddha said, whatever is impermanent is suffering. Whatever is impermanent is dukkha. That means it is oppressed by arising and disappearing. It is oppressed by, it is bombarded by arising and disappearing. Such being the case, it is important to make use of the knowledge of karma sakata, the cause in the close proximity of equanimity as a basic factors. Because of this significance, it has been mentioned to bear in mind that nothing happens according to the wish of the meditators, that beings are subjected to their own karma. Accordingly, in order to be able to develop karma sakata knowledge, there's a story. There's one sutta, Chula Karma Vibhinga Sutta. Will be extracted from Uparipanasa Pali text. In the text, it mentioned there lived a lad by the name of Subha in the city of Sawiti during the lifetime of our Buddha. The Pali word Subha conveys the meanings of dignity, dignified personality, and as such he can be addressed as Mr. Dignity. Todeya, the Brahmin, was his father. Todeya was an astrologer to His Majesty King Kosala, the ruling monarch. Being a man of great wealth, Todeya was stated to possess 870 millions worth of properties. He was a miser though. Imagining that if charity were given or if charitable deeds were performed, his entire wealth would decline to the point of total exhaustion. Todeya had throughout his life abstained from making any charity. And he instructed to his son and other friends in this way. He gave 3 examples. Collyria, that is stones producing coloring matter, applied to eyelashes to darken. If ground several times, we wear out or we be exalted by attrition. You have to observe in this way. And then the nature of inhale. Which constitutes a large accumulation brought about by the white ants in carrying bit by bit the dust in small quantity. You have to reflect in this way. And then honey, which represent a collection made by the bees by carrying bit by bit gradually. By observing and reflecting in this way, the wise man who has business case should put under his care, management, and control. So this is the advice or instruction given to his sons and other people by Todeya, the Brahmin. So collyrium is not in use in other country, but is popularly used in India. It is not an eye lotion, but a coloring matter applied to the eyelids and lashes to look pretty. A rule of discipline has been laid down prohibiting the bhikkhus, monks, from making use of this coloring matter in the Vinaya. If this collyrium is made use of several times, say 100 times or 1,000 times, the stone gets worn out through attrition. In the same way, if donation is made even in a piecemeal, as time goes on, property in hand will gradually diminish until it becomes exalted or nothing is left. Imagining in this way, no offering or gifts, even in small quantity, should be made. Don't give, don't offer. This is what the statement means. Another example is inhale. Inhale becomes a big mound when gradually heaped up with particles of dust carried over and deposited by a tiny white ants. Taking cue from the manner in which constant efforts are made by the tiny creatures in accumulating the dust to form into a mound of earth or an anthill, money should be kept, property should be gradually hoarded and accumulated slowly in piecemeal. Even a penny or cents should be saved and accumulated, and if done so, in course of time, great wealth can be amassed, can be accumulated. So it is stated that everything which comes into your hand should be stored up without spending it. Another example is honey. Tiny drop of honey brought by the small bees stored up in trickles are not much, but as as these are carried by them and trickle out several times, a large amount of honey is collected in due course. Taking lesson from this illustration, though it may be a small sum of money, say a penny or a cent, you should gradually save up the money so as to get rich. What is meant by it is that the head of the household or a family should abstain from giving away even a small sum of money without causing wastage, and carefully save and guard the store of money and amass his fortune. At that time, Buddha was still living and was delivering his preaching in the city of Savatthi. The members of the Sangha, Buddha's disciples, were all along present with the Buddha. Those people who had faith in the Dhamma took their refuge in the three triple gem and became followers of the Buddha's teaching. They were observing the practice of morality, either the 5 precepts or 8 precepts, and they were accomplished with sila, morality, and also they performed charity to their utmost capacity by making offering to the members of the Sangha under the guidance of the Buddha. They listened honestly to the sermons delivered by the Buddha daily and carry on the practice of meditation. Some of them became Sotapanna, some became Sagadagami, some became Anagamis, while some entered bhikkhuhood, monkhood, and then by developing Vipassana meditation, some had achieved Arhata Megaphala, eventually attaining arhatship. It was an opportune time, affording a very rare opportunity to achieve higher awakening consciousness of the special Dharma up to the highest stage of Noble Path. This golden opportunity was hard to come by. And yet, Todeya, the Brahmin had no faith in and had no reverence for the Buddha. He had then already embraced the doctrines of the Brahmins, so he had totally no faith in the Buddha, who had no place in his high estimation. As a matter of fact, he had underestimated the noble qualities of the Buddha, the Blessed One. Being a Brahmin, holding a different religious concept, which is of course a false view, he did not even care to listen to the Buddha's discourses. And he did not even care to listen to discourse, and he did not offer charity anything, even a spoonful of boiled rice. Not only that, Toddeya used to address the Buddha with disrespect as Bo, the term which he used on inferior and equals. So it would appear that Toddeya must have addressed the Buddha inferior for having disrespectfully spoken to the Buddha, the Blessed One, and also for having pleasurable attachment to his properties with greed. When Toddeya died, he was conceived in the womb of a bitch as his own house. So Toddeya was conceived in the womb of a bitch. So he reborn as a dog, pet dog. So we continue the story. We need to understand the law of karma, rebirth and suffering. When we listen to the teaching, we need to understand the law of karma, and also we need to practice the teaching of the Buddhas are like medicine. The medicine will be effective only if we take it. You may have a bottle of medicine, but if you do not take them, you will not get cured of the disease you want to cure. So the effectiveness of medicine lies in being taken. If you do not take them, you will not get results of the medicine. In the same way, Buddha's teaching are good to understand, but that is not enough. We have to put this teaching into practice, or we have to follow the teaching so that we are able to get rid of suffering, or we are able to get rid of mental defilements. That is why in the teaching of the Buddha, practice is very important. Only through practice we can achieve what was achieved by the Buddhas and the Arahants. So in this Upekkhā Bhāvanā, we try to understand what is karma, what karma is, and also rebirth. That is the result of karma, and also we try to understand that the result of karma, however good it may be, is actually suffering. Anyway, Vipassana meditation is the best to improve our karma. So let us practice meditation for a few minutes. Keep your upper body straight. Take the postures that is most comfortable for you. Preferably the cross-legged position. Just be relaxed and breathe normally. Do not try to control the breath in order to make it longer, shorter, or deeper. So when we practice Vipassana meditation, we can keep our mind on the abdomen. Keep our mind on the abdomen and be mindful of the rising and falling movements. Be mindful of the rising movement from the beginning to the end. Pay close attention so that you are fully aware of the movement. When the abdomen falls, when you breathe out, be mindful of the falling movements from the beginning to the end. You may mentally note rising when the abdomen is rising and falling when it's falling. But if making mental notes interfere with the practice, you don't have to make them. Just be mindful of rising and falling movements of the abdomen. If you concentrate, you may feel either tension or pressure in the abdomen. You may concentrate on it. Here, the emphasis is to be mindful of the movements rather than the abdomen shape or form. Naturally, our mind is jumping around all the time. So keep your mind on the abdomen. If your mind can remain on the rise and fall of the abdomen, it would be very good. So when you are keeping your mind on the abdomen, be mindful when it wanders. Do not blame yourself or do not feel guilty. Just be mindful of its going out or mentally notice going out, going out. When the wandering mind disappears, come back to the movements of the abdomen. We call the movements of the abdomen home object or primary objects because we always go back to them after paying attention to any other object that becomes prominent at the present moment. So whatever thoughts or reflection occurs should be noted. If you imagine, notice imagining. If you think, thinking. If you plan, planning. If you perceive, perceiving. If you feel happy, happy. If you feel bold, bold. If you feel glad, glad. Noting all these acts of consciousness is called Chaitanupasana, contemplation of the mind. And when sensation of stiffness, heat arise in your body, these sensations are to be noted carefully. Hearing the sound, notice hearing, hearing, and then come back to rising and falling of the abdomen.